Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We begin this Shabbat, the first Shabbat in Elul, with the words of Psalm 27, Achat Sha'alti. This beautiful musical setting is by Chava Mirel. Achat Sha'alti me'et Adonai, Achat Sha'alti ota avakesh. Shivti, Shivti, Bevet Adonai. Shivti, Shivti, Kol Yemei Chayai, Lachazot b'noam Adonai, ulevaker b'cheichalo, lachazot b'noam Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota avakesh.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's a blessing to be able to celebrate this Shabbat evening with you and to welcome the month of Elul with such a beautiful musical piece. Thank you, Lori, for introducing that musical setting to us. Psalm 27, which is the psalm that we customarily read during this month preceding the High Holy Days, employs this beautiful verse that Cantor Brock sang for us tonight. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Just one thing I ask of God, that I can dwell in God's house forever. But what does it mean to dwell in God's house? What is it that the psalmists and we are really pining for? And I think that when we look to what it means to dwell in God's house, we can look to different metaphors and images. But in the Torah, in the book of Isaiah, in chapter 6, Isaiah actually describes what he thinks it is to be in God's house. He describes a scene where he feels like his soul has been transported into God's heavenly court. And in this heavenly court, there are all kinds of divine beings, and each of them are calling out one to the other, and they say, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And it says in the book of Isaiah that they called out to each other, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. But it's interesting. It doesn't say that they called out one to another. It says, V'kara ze el ze ve'amar, that they called out, but instead of using the plural form of to say or to call out, amru, it says amar, just the singular voice. And so there's a beautiful Hasidic pamphlet called the Ketem Paz that a rabbi named Tzvi Hirsch of Shmetrich. There are great names in Eastern Europe, Shmetrich. Wouldn't that be cool? We live in Boca. Boca's okay, but Shmetrich, I mean, that would be a name of a place. In any case, in this little pamphlet, he talks about why they use the singular form of this word. And what he says is the reason why there's a singularity is that each of us, just like those divine beings in heavenly court, has a voice that is unique to us, a perspective that is uniquely ours, a life that is unique and individual, like an individual strand of rope or of thread. But then he says, in order to make a rope, you take all those individual strands and you bind them together. And it is when they are all bound together, all those different strands, that that rope becomes one individual piece. And so it is that for us, when we look around the world, there are millions and millions of us. And we come in so many different shapes and sizes and ages and demographics. And we look at the world through an infinite number of lenses that give us our unique perspective. And in many ways, sometimes it feels like the rope of the Jewish people is becoming kind of frayed and unwound. And because of that, it seems like that unwound rope is no longer as strong as it used to be. But if we can not only tie ourselves back to the mission and the holy purposes of the Jewish people, but if we can go one step deeper and recognize in our own lives, there are so many different elements of our identity, so many different pieces of ourselves that are also like those individual threads, then the month of Elul can be a time when we bind ourselves back together, when we find all those disparate threads coming together to create a very strong spiritual rope that embodies our souls individually and collectively as a people. What do we really want? We want to live in a world where when we call out to each other, we cry, holy, holy, holy. And even though we do this in a myriad of voices, it is individually one voice. That even though we speak with different voices, we use different languages, we offer different opinions, we try to understand the world in different ways. If we can figure out how to weave our voices, our souls, our spirits into that unity, then indeed the world in which we live will be a house of God. And God willing, we can live in that house together, not just during the Hebrew month of Elul and the High Holy Day season that approaches, but each and every day of our lives. Shabbat Shalom. And now, as we prepare to welcome Shabbat, we invite Jason Fisher and his family to lead us in the blessing for the Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
They would like. Okay, Jace, you're up.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lecha likner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jason. We're looking forward to celebrating your bar mitzvah tomorrow morning, 11:30. Can't wait to be there with you. Now it's my privilege to welcome Joy and Jason Goldman to lead us in the blessing of the Kiddush. And we especially want to thank Jason for all the work that he's done in guiding our congregation as part of our COVID-19 task force.
Go ahead.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all of their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei puri hagavlen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'shabbat kosho be'ahava u'rason Kilanu zikaron lemase bereshit kiyom tequila lemigra kodesh zeher ziat mitzrayim kivanu lecharta rakanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kosher v'ahava u'ratzon ikatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Take a moment now and just embrace Shabbat. Embrace the holiness and this time of rest and renewal, of rejuvenation and rediscovery of our most authentic selves, that part of us, that light that dwells within us that so often is obscured by all of that which doesn't really matter in life. And allow Shabbat to remind us of what is of true ultimate value, and welcome in those ministering angels from God's court, those who call out to each other, holy, 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 each and every day as part of God's presence, and share with us these moments of Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bolechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you are able, please rise for the Baruch Hu. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Please be seated.
We continue now together with the words of Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, u'vitvuna meshanei itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom umevit laila, umavdir ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzevaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. אותנו לימדת, כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך, לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Please rise. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated as we continue with the Ve'ahavta led by our Bar Mitzvah, Jason Fisher.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'chol nafshecha u'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi motzavcha hayom al levavecha v'ashiv nantam levanecha v'dibarta b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvletecha v'derech uvshachbecha uvkumecha uvshartam le'o al yadecha v'chayu letotafo bein einecha uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish arecha lema'an tiskuru ba'asita et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzedi etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thank you, Jason, and Mazal Tov to you and to your whole family. I'm sure tomorrow is going to be a wonderful day for the entire Fisher clan. As I think about the story of our ancestors, the Israelites, when they made their way out of Egypt, I often wonder to myself, what was going through the minds of the Israelites as they walked across that wet earth at the bottom of the Sea of Reeds, the Red Sea, and walked across into dry land? Because it was such a revolutionary experience for them. Walking free from the bondage of slavery, from the bondage of Pharaoh, there must have been, of course, unencumbered joy, but also a lot of wondering of, well, what are we going to do now? Here we are beginning a journey across the desert, hopefully to make our way to the promised land. Moses is leading us, and he tells us that God is leading him, and they know that they're going to have to find a way to figure this out for themselves. They no longer have the structure of the home in Goshen that they knew from before. They were going to have to fend for themselves, not just in the wilderness, but even when they made their way to the land of Israel. And we get another piece of that story in this week's Torah portion that tells us that God told Moses later in the story in the book of Deuteronomy, in this week's Parsha Shoftim, that when they get to Israel, if the Israelites want to appoint themselves a king, they can do so. But reminding them that the king needs to come from within the community. It can't be an outsider, it can't be a foreigner. It has to be one of them. And over and over and over again in the Torah and in the rabbinic tradition, it reminds us that not only should the king come from within the community, but the king must remember that he came from within the community. That never was the king to be really separate from, apart from, but we are all in this together. The Israelites and Moses who went forth from Egypt were in it together. The Israelites who founded the kingdom in the land of Israel were in it together. Our people have been in it together for the millennia, for the hundreds and thousands of years that we have wandered around this earth to find our home. And in this experience we're having over these last several months, we are in this together. We each have our own experiences. We each have our own talents. We each have our own wisdom. We each have our own challenges. But the more that we can feel like we are in this together, the more that we can lean on each other to make our way through this, the more primed we will be when that time comes, when the doors of our synagogue, when the doors of our homes, when the doors of our schools, when the doors of our businesses, when the doors of our community can open. And like the Israelites walking to freedom through the Red Sea, we can walk through those doors with open arms and celebrate all the freedoms that we have. And so we celebrate our freedom tonight with the words of Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh, nora tikitla do sefele, mi chamocha bailim Adonai, malechutecha Moshe uMiriam, Zeheli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar kivad Adonai et Yaakov u'ge'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch Atah Adonai, God Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmor tzedenu uvoinu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmor tzedenu uvoinu. Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'ol Yerushalayim. Amen.
Like so many things in Jewish culture, like so many things in Hebrew language culture, the way in which our tradition names the days of the week is beauty because of its simplicity. Unlike other languages that invoke the moon or the sun or this or that, the days of the week in Hebrew are very simple. Yom Rishon, first day. Yom Sheni, second day. Third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. But when we get to today, when we get to Yom Shabbat, when we get to the day of Shabbat, it's called Yom Shabbat, not seventh day, Yom Shabbat. This day upon which and for which we have been building throughout the week. And so when we get to Shabbat, we get to celebrate with extra special words of prayer like the words of Vishamru.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam barit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam barit olam ki shishat yamim ha'asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam barit olam Uvayom hashvi'i
Uvayom hashvi
Shabbat v'yinafash
Shabbat vayinafash.
He gets better every week. Shabbat v'yinafash
Created an animal.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam barit olam.
Isn't it nice that she lets me do that just to make me feel like I could maybe never be a cantor? We wish everyone please rise as we continue celebrating with tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdiyavot v'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livanei F'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atarav lehoshia. Morid hatal, Mechakel chaim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asirim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidau melach, Melech me'mit u'mechaye, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Kadosh.
I am not a musical rabbi like Rabbi Levin, but I have two pieces of music that I keep with me always. One is a beautiful song from Israel, Tzion Tamati, that is hard to find. And the other is this piece of music that we're about to hear after silent prayer. It is called Do It for Elul. It takes Psalm 27 and Psalm 121 and beautifully arranged by cantor Andy Bernard, who I worked with in Charlotte, North Carolina 2 decades ago, and who was Cantor Brock's teacher at Hebrew Union College. He meshed these two. Its focus is on Psalm 27, the psalm recited in the month of Elul. And what is so incredible is that it reflects what we do. The psalm begins, Echad Sha'alti, one thing do I ask for, and then it goes on to ask for two things. And isn't that us? We think we just have one thing and everything will be better. We just need this or we just need that and it will be okay. But even if we just have one thing, there is something always to ask for. But what it does is it says that God's presence is large enough that whether we ask for 1 thing or 10 things, there is always a God to hear our prayers. This beautiful setting was recorded in the chapel, the old chapel, before the way it looks now. It was recorded before the pandemic, so you'll see people together. It is a beautiful setting that reflects the nature of this time of Elul. We continue in silent prayer, followed by duet for Elul.
That's beautiful. Thank you. During the month of Elul, it's customary each day to hear the sounding of the shofar and to allow that cry from this unique horn to stir our spirits to introspection and reflection, and to do the work of creating what our tradition calls a cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of our spirits during this month leading up to the celebration of the new year. And so to lead us tonight in the sounding of the shofar, we have Allison Martinez. Ali is a senior this year. She is, in addition to being a very fine French horn player, she is also the president of the Nifty region, Nifty Star, and we're very proud of all that she has accomplished. And so we ask Ali to lead us in the sounding of the shofar.
Tekiah, Shevarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shevarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah Gedolah.
Fantastic. It is beautiful to go from the shofar calls into the two blessings that we have this evening in their homes.
Shoot, yeah.
So there's companies, God willing, are Spencer and Rita Krieger, who tonight are celebrating their 50th anniversary. And we are sending beautiful wishes their way. Elul, the month we enter into, is considered an acronym for Ani Dodi V'Dodi Li, I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. They are beloved to each other. They also are beloved of wonderful parents of wonderful children and grandchildren who are raised as part of Temple Bethel. And so we send them through the screen this evening, loving blessings on their anniversary. May they enjoy this and maybe be here many, many years to celebrate future anniversaries. Mazel tov to Rita and Spencer Krieger. And now we move from wedding anniversaries to baby blessings. And so we're gonna bring up on the screen Jocelyn Oasis Bergbauer, who is child of Alexandra and Michael. And it is beautiful. We get to name her on this evening, but I have to share with you before we go to her parents to share their hopes and dreams for her and who she's named after, that she was born on February 9th, 2020. And so she has had a unique and different upbringing than any other baby born at almost any other time, as the pandemic began a month later. And no doubt she has been a source of joy and love, and you've had unexpected additional time with her. She was also born the day before Tu B'Shvat, the new year of trees. And as that is a holiday of growth, so too may she grow in beauty in her parents' loving protection. We'll turn things over to the Bergbauers to share words about her, and then we'll bless her with the priestly blessing.
Jocelyn, as we sat on, and procrastinated picking the perfect names for you, we also thought about our ancestors and who you would be named for that were special and had an important role in our lives. For your English name, Jocelyn Oasis, you were named for your great-grandparents, Jack Bergbauer and Obdulia Lopez. Jack was a selfless man who could always make people laugh. He would have loved helping to teach you about the joys of life and family. Obdulia was a true woman of valor. She was strong of character, but a very gentle and sweet person. She would have loved you so much, she would have called you her baby.
For your Hebrew name, Tirsa Lily, you were named for another two women of valor, your great-grandmother, Teresa Perulik, and great aunt Laura Kanaki. Teresa was very sweet and generous, giving of her time volunteering. Laura was a loving woman who valued the importance of family above all. You've been a huge joy and blessing to our family. We love watching you grow and reach milestones, and we are so lucky that you love to sleep just as much as we do. Our hope is that you'll grow up to be a good-hearted, intelligent, and strong young woman who will be a blessing to all you meet. Yeah.
Beautiful. And if you will hold up the t-shirt and the certificate that we give for this evening, on this Shabbat, we named Jocelyn Oasis Bergbauer, child of Alexandra and Michael, born on February 9, 2020, corresponding with the 14th of the Hebrew month of Shvat and the year 15780. And she has been given the Hebrew name Tirza Lily Bat Michael Alexandra. And we Barechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless her and keep her. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yuchenecha. May God shine upon her and be gracious to her. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May all her paths be paths of peace. And we say amen. And we have her t-shirt that says, I got my Hebrew name at Temple. God willing, we'll be back there very, very soon and grow up in her midst, in the loving eye of her parents and grandparents and all who care for her at Temple Bethel. We wish you all Mazel Tov. Congratulations to the Paralik Bergbauers. Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
Mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, simin tov, yelanu.
So I just found out yesterday, if you say, Alexa, what happened today in history? She will tell you. And I don't know if you can hear in the background, but she's telling us in 1953, the Soviets tested the first ICBM. I love history, and I love knowing anniversaries of history. I love celebrating and marking what happens. And so when I was a little kid, my mother gave her father, my grandfather, Sam, for his birthday, a cover page of the New York Times from the day that he was born. He was born in Poland, not in New York, but his family had come. I remember it hanging in his house, this cover page of the New York Times from the day that he was born. I think Woodrow Wilson was president, and I would love to read all that was happening in the world on the day that my grandfather, Sam, was born. But it is not his birth that he had wanted me to remember. Instead, it is his death. See, this week is my birthday, August 17th. My son was born on it. And then 2 years after my son was born, my grandfather died on my birthday. Since then, a niece and a nephew have been born on August 17th. It is a potent day for me. It is as if my grandfather is saying, pay attention, not just to my birth, but to my death. Carry on all the things that I escaped from Europe to come to this country for. Now, we could look at all these things happening on this day and be like, this is powerful and majestic and meaningful, and an arrow my grandfather is pointing out to me. But others could look at this and say, it's nothing, means nothing. It's just a coincidence. It's just how I choose to see it. And it's insistence that my grandfather had that I pay attention, not just to the day of his birth, but the day of his death and everything that happened in between. So today we have something where God is asking us to pay attention to something, to draw dots of connection, to wake up, to say this day matters, and there's a message that lies in it. You see, today, as we've talked about throughout the service, is the first day of the Hebrew month of Elul. For 29 days, we will be asked to reflect on the power and majesty and meaning of the high holidays. It has not been lost on me that the first day of Elul in this year, 5780, is on a Friday night, which means more people are paying attention to what is going on at synagogue. It is also not lost on me that this Elul, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and we have deep things to think about as we enter into the new year that the month of Elul is propelling us towards. So here's the thing that asks us to pay attention. And we have a decision to decide if we are going to pay attention. In the same way, I pay attention to all these events happening on August 17th, so potent and powerful that when my son was bar mitzvah, my grandfather's name was read on the yard site, as it will be on tonight. When it was the portion of Shoftim, this very week's portion, there's a sign and dots that God asks us to connect as well in this week's portion, if we so see it. The beginning of this portion, it says, Tzedek, Tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. You need to understand that every word of Torah is potent and powerful. And so when Torah repeats something, it is a sign. It is dots to connect. It says it is more meaningful and you need to pay attention. So what do we do on this night when Elul begins? We can say big deal. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The holidays will be there. I may tune in, I may not. Or we can say this is a deep and powerful and beautiful time. It is a time where God pulls us like a magnet. In the same way Shoftim pulls us toward justice, or my grandfather pulls me towards the span of his life. It is powerful if only we will choose to connect. And it is not in a vacuum. It is our marriage to God, literally, as I said in our anniversary blessing. The month of Elul is understood to be an acronym for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am in my beloved, and my beloved is mine. And the beloved in this case is God and the Jewish people. The Torah we've received and marked the receiving of on Shavuot is our ketubah. But some months have passed. A lot of things have happened. Really, a lot of things have happened. And we have become disinterested in Torah. And so in this month of Elul, God reminds us of those vows. God pulls out the ketubah, the Torah, and says, look, pay attention. Look at all the things that we have promised each other. Use these 29 days of this month that marks our relationship and connect the dots from the days of Elul into the high holy days, into the year that lies ahead. August 21st matters. Elul 1 matters. Here's the choice that we have. Our Augusts can become more potent and more bearable and even more powerful and help us grow if we embrace the Eluls side by side with our Augusts. And so that is my hope on this first of Elul, when we are together in worship, that our Eluls and our Augusts will be embraced and taken to heart, and we will enter 5781 with strength and beauty and grace. Shabbat Shalom. At this time in our service, our thoughts turn to all those in need of God's healing presence. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those in need of healing. May God grant chokhmah, wisdom, to those who care for them. May God grant ahava, love, to those who hold them deeply in their hearts. And may God grant chazak va'amatz, courage and strength, to all those in need of healing. In our prayers this evening, Rabbi Stephen David Abram, Samuel Agronal, Perry Bear, Fred Belkin, Margie Berman Block, Kathleen Bauer-Sachs, Joan Brown, Alex Bruner, Lawrence Bowman, Joanne Chase, Claire Cohen, Roy Cohen, Lynn Edinger, Arnold Ernay, Estelle Ernay, Dr. Frank Field, Dale Frost, Dr. Ira Gelb, Bob Gillis, Larry Guys, Myrna Goldman, Jake Goldstein, Stephen Gordon, Keith Hummer, Jocelyn Shoshana Batmazel, Sonny Judson, Stephen Kaplan, Norman Kaufman, Florence Koish, Joni Kramer, Herb Krickstein, Mickey Cutler, Murray Lefkowitz, Ruth Lafrock, Barbara Liss, Ed Levy, Paul Mandel, Rolando Marrero, Charles Meacham, Susan Myers, Shirley Ann Myers, Victoria Nelson, Jerry Pinsky, Michael Pinsky, Susan Pinsky, Jerry Podolsky, Byron Quintana, Ellen Romberg, Eileen Rosenbaum, Alan Rosenfeld, Sharon Rubin, Bonnie Schaefer, Lydia Jane Scoresby, Len Sirowitz, Mickey Sirowitz, Jonathan Statler, Richard Tremblay, Israel Yamuter, Joel Zeiger, and the names that you add at home as we continue with our Misha Berach prayers for healing.
Misha Berach imotenu v'kor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue with the Aleinu, and if you are able, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoyeh haratzot, velo samanu כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Our thoughts turn now to those whom we have lost, those whose lives have left us a legacy of love and understanding, of wisdom and goodness, whose memories we cherish each and every day, and whose spirits are woven into the fabric of our family and our lives. On this Shabbat, we remember the yard sites of Doris M. Abramowitz, Ilan Barenboim, Ben Guber, Rita Bernstein, Eleanor Bilski, Alex Chesnov, Arthur Kopsteg, Zelig Kostin, Francis Feldstein, Angel Fisher, Roger Ives Fishman, Sadie Fleischer, Sam Fogelman, Bernard S. Foreman, Shirley Friedman, Paul H. Gates, Morris Goldberg, Leon Goldstein, Marvin Goldstein, Sadie Gurewitz, Willie Hacker, Sophie Harris, Susan Hrilanovich, Stanford Igdaloff, Matilda Jaffe, Max M. Jonas, Theodore Kahn, Jay Cantor, Leonard Kaufman, Ronald Krieger, Clara Kushner, Celia Lakin, Arthur Liebersfeld, Sissy Lieberthal, Eli Malinoff, Florence Pallet Mallet, Betty Maram, Marilyn Modell, Carlos Edmund Moreau, Barian Morris, Helen Beener Morris, Elaine Orville, Ann Pedvis, Anna Prince, Judith Rita Rosenberg, Leon Rosenfeld, Dorothy Ross, Arlene Saltzman, Rosalind Samuels, Sylvia Schiff, Rita G. Schreiber, Martin Sugar, Sarah Shiowitz, Elaine Silverman, Harold Simon, Bobby Sindel, Rudolph J. Slintak, Sam Stengel, Joyce Throne, Kenneth Watts, Muriel Weiss, Herman Weitzner, Sylvia Wheeler, Louis Whiteman, Meredith Wilson, and John S. Winston. And we add with soaring hearts those who relate to rest in recent days, whose memories we cherish in the 30 days of Shaloshim. Alvin Wheeler, Beatrice Vogel, Cynthia Donnelly, Lee Fenster, Donna Barron, Rosalind Mazursky, Victor Silverstein, Deborah Silver, Linda Doctoroff, Claire May Silverman, Alan Sindell, Nathaniel Koish, Arlene Schuster, Justin Kirstein, Norman Levine, Florence Marks, Ellen Elswag, Francis Rubin, Mark Cohen, and Elaine Krasik. And also those whom you name that you are remembering wherever it is that you are. We give thanks to God for the gift of life and love with the words of Kaddish. Together we say, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'ameh amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekucha brichu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn. And we say, Amen. As we conclude our services tonight, we are going to sing cantor.
Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra et nasa b'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei Himloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yitzir nivra leit nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol Levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yitzir nivra leit nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol Levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh b'tifara v'hu haya v'hu hoveh b'tifara v'hu haya v'hu hoveh b'tifara v'hu haya v'hu hoveh b'tifara.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. A few brief announcements. First, we really want to thank Raymond and Jason and Ross, who are our backstage crew, who do such a wonderful job each Shabbat. So many, many thanks to you. And Mazel Tov to all of those who were celebrating this week. And we look forward to many wonderful times with the Kriegers and the Bergbauers, and of course with Jason Fisher tomorrow morning for his bar mitzvah. So Mazel Tov to everyone. A few announcements in terms of things you can enjoy. Tomorrow morning, there will be Shabbat morning Torah study. We'll go back to our study of the book of Exodus after a 3-week little detour into Reform Halakha. So that'll be at 9:30 tomorrow. And then during the week, there will be a number of wonderful events. Sunday morning, we will have renowned author Naomi Reagan that Sisterhood is putting together, a wonderful program that you can sign up for. There's still, I think, the ability to sign up online. You can continue to study Hebrew every day during the week, Monday to Friday, with Cantor Brock. So you can log on at 4 p.m. and brush up on your Hebrew. On Wednesday at 8 p.m., we will begin a series of meditation programs with Rabbi Amy Pessa to prepare during the month of Elul. So we hope that you will join us for meditation. And then on Thursday morning, we're going to begin a 3-part series that I'll be teaching at 10 a.m. so that you can learn a little bit more about the different Torah portions, which we will be enjoying during the celebration of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. During the holidays, we read typically Genesis 22, the story of the binding of Isaac, the end of the book of Deuteronomy, and the Parsha Nitzavim, and also the Holiness Code, the Leviticus 19. And we're going to be having a chance to study these different Torah portions more in depth so that you can appreciate the unique insights that they share with us. So many wonderful other programs. But next Friday night, we really hope that you will join us. We're going to have our Blue Jeans Shabbat. Now, I know many of you may not even be wearing pants right now, but we are going to have our Blue Jeans Shabbat anyway, which is our normal welcome back to the year. And we're going to be celebrating all of our new members. So all our new members are going to have a very special Oneg Shabbat just for them. So they'll have a chance to get to know each other and to get to know us as members of the clergy and the staff. So we hope that you will join us next Friday night for our new member Blue Jeans Shabbat. Again, you wear whatever you want at home, but we're going to be wearing blue jeans. And so we hope you'll join us. Other things that you can find, and especially information about how we will be celebrating the High Holy Days this year, can be found on the temple's website, www.tbeboca.org. Click there for Virtual Bethel and all our High Holiday information, ways that you can participate in our High Line, our Path to Healing, to help support and sustain the work of the synagogue, and so much more information. We hope that you will log on and find all the different ways that you can participate through Zoom and through live stream and Virtual Bethel. And now, the moment I know you've all been waiting for. I know my dog has been waiting too. Join me. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.